finally heading out. Took a while.
Don't worry,
I know.
All right.
I know. Who are you, huh? Ooh, boy. Uh-oh. You guys miss me?
Down. No better. Hey, Mustang.
Down.
Sunny or Shelby.
So I finally made it out to Colorado. It took 3 days. I did about 8 hours roughly each day. Doing it in 2 days, over 12 hours each day was way too long. So nothing really exciting in the driving, you know, obviously just cornfields and stuff most of the way. The first night I stealth camped in a farmer's field, and then the second night I ended up at a campground basically I paid for. So yeah, not too bad actually. And so yeah, here I am, and hopefully these tours and stuff work out here. I already set up the website and stuff like that, and I had my first customer yesterday, and I have a few next month. But yeah, it's still very far away from like being able to like pay for rent and all those kinds of things. And so yeah, it was tough leaving home because of course my parents aren't super young anymore, as you might noticed. And so that's kind of tough. And also it's difficult because, you know, I left when I was 18 to go in the Army. So that was my first, you know, like kind of big adventure or something like that. And I knew I probably wouldn't stay in the Army or anything like that. But there's been several times over the years I left to like do a bike trip around the world, hike the Appalachian Trail. You know, I lived in China and Taiwan for almost 15 years. And so it's like, you know, it's kind of symbolic each time. Like you want things to get better, because one of the reasons why I was upset when I left, and you could even hear my mom mention like it's going to be okay, is that they're like, wow, you've accomplished so much. And it's like true, you know, like I said, I did all those amazing trips around the world, and I got my bachelor's, master's degree and all this stuff, but like I don't have success. So it's like I'm very accomplished but not really successful. Now, just 4 months ago, I was in China and had a successful tour company there, and it was going well. But because of the COVID and lockdowns and stuff, I had to leave. And they also stole a bunch of money from me. So it's hard to even think of that as success, even though many people, you know, they're like, wow, that was a success and you did great. And so, yeah, that's just something you guys got to prepare for in life. You know, that's kind of the message I could tell you here today is you really got to prepare for a lot of failures, because life is really a lot of ups and downs. And I never thought a lot of these things would have happened. Like even when I went in the Army, I went in 1998. I never thought in 2001 that 9/11 was going to happen. You know, because it was like, oh, there wasn't a big war for 25 years, and then suddenly we're in a conflict for 20 years. So when I was in university, I was worried about getting called back. And then of course, more recently with COVID, who would have thought I started a tour company and then 2 or 3 years into it, COVID hits, you know? And then I even did good after COVID hit, but then these lockdowns are just never gonna end, and the anti-foreigner sentiment and everything there was brutal. So I wouldn't say embrace failure, but don't be afraid of it, because you know, I think around 10, 11 years ago when I moved to Taiwan, I just finished my trip biking around the world, and I did commercial fishing, and I hiked the Appalachian Trail, the Army, all this stuff. And I was trying to write a book about it. And like, I didn't really know how to write. I wasn't sure how I felt about a lot of things because, you know, our views change over the years. And so it was really difficult for me to even come up with how I was going to do this book with so many different ideas and feelings about things and different experiences that didn't necessarily come together. And so I couldn't find like a publisher or a literary agent to publish my book. And for that reason is one of the reasons why I didn't start a tour company then. Because when I was in Taiwan, I was doing free trips every weekend, biking and hiking and stuff like that. Mostly bike tours at that time. And I thought, I was like, wow, I was here for 3 years. I couldn't get this book done. And so maybe I'll get into academia and like apply for like PhD programs and stuff like that. But I think I would have much rather did the tourism stuff then. But because my book didn't go well, and because I guess I was afraid of failure, you know, like I could have gone and published it on my own and like no one would have read it, right? And so to me, it would have been a failure. And so the book wasn't just about failure, is that I thought I needed to have this book published to get some notoriety in the cycling community so that like people would want to come on my tours, that kind of thing. And I mean, I already had a big following and stuff, and I didn't know much about marketing then, and I'm just learning now. But, you know, I shouldn't have let this book stop me from like getting to the next step in life, basically. Because to be honest, I don't think I really even applied for the literary agents who like rejected me basically until way after I'd already applied for like PhD programs and stuff. And I should have just said like, let's do the company, the book can come later or whatever. If it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. But like, don't put your life on hold because of something like this. And so I went off on this other road, like applying to PhD programs, and I didn't even get the funding, and so I didn't do it. But that was a delay of 4 or 5 years until I got that tour company going. I should have just started right away in Taiwan around the time, you know, I was like 31 or 32, 10 years ago. And so by the time I start doing the tour company, you know, as soon as it gets going well, COVID hits, right? So my point is that just go for it. If you have something you're interested in, go for it, because you're going to fail a bunch of times. So many things in life don't work out the way you think they will. You know, just like I said with the Army. Also, when I started biking around the world, I didn't think that only 4 months into that trip I would get ran over by an SUV in China, you know? And then I ended up living in China later. And so life has a lot of twists and turns, but don't be afraid to fail at something, because then even if you fail, you can reassess and move on, you know, because now, you know, this issue with me leaving China is not like I necessarily failed, but I mean, I did have to move on, and I don't have money, and I'm 42, and I'll tell you, it's not fun to start over again. You know, that's another thing too, make sure you're financially better off. If I knew that that woman would be able to steal $15,000 from me, I definitely wouldn't have did it, you know. Or I would have had to come up with other ideas. But I really wanted to make it where, like, if someone was hurt or died on my trip, I needed to have money on the side to cover that besides the insurance. So I did the right thing, and then they're not going to do the right thing, right? So that's another tough thing in life. You have to rely on some people, and I'll tell you, man, it's could be another really tough thing. And of course, you're going to learn from your mistakes. So failures aren't all bad. You're going to learn from these mistakes. And even though these things didn't work out in China, the only reason why I'm able to even get a few customers now is because I do have some experience. So it's not all a waste. So go out there, don't worry about failing. You're going to learn from it, you're going to reassess, and it's going to be better. If you just wait and you're afraid of failure, you're never going to accomplish anything. So it's just something you're going to have to deal with in life. You know, things aren't going to work out all the time. You know, you're going to have relationships with friends or women or men or whatever where, you know, they're not in love with you, or you're not in love with them, or they move away, or they have different plans, or maybe they get sick, or someone could die. You know, you're going to move to places in the world that might be awesome or could totally suck. You know, you're going to have falling outs with some friends and different things. And yeah, if you do businesses, it's not going to work your first time. Generally speaking, I've almost never seen anyone who had a great idea and it worked out the first time. They almost always end up having to start like a second or third business or a second or third idea, and then it works. You know, same thing with writers. It's not like their first book ever worked out. Or if you play guitar or you do comedy, it's not like your first show is going to be good. It's going to suck probably. But then after time, you're going to get better. So just don't wait to fail. Just go for it. And, you know, you're going to be a better person in the long run. If you're like me, like 10 years ago, I kind of waited. well, that was a bad idea because now we had the COVID and all this stuff. Now I've got to reassess again. But anyway, that's kind of my message about that kind of stuff. I'll make another video for people who want to do like kind of the, adventurous travel life. If you want to travel around, do things, some of my advice. Of course, a lot of things are better now because there's a digital nomad thing. That wasn't there 10, 20 years ago. So I could give some advice about that. So right now I'm staying at my sister's boyfriend's actually in Denver, which is great because I wouldn't be able to do things without that, to be honest. But the rest of the time, I'm staying out of my van. So I'll give you guys some advice of the basic things you'll need. Like I have solar panels and electric generator basically to run my computer and things like that. And I've also had a few cool trips. This last week I did a few 14,000 foot peaks. I had my first customer yesterday and a few more coming up. So things are coming along, but it's definitely going to take a few years. So it's definitely tough, man, starting over. Especially, I mean, if honestly, if I had that money, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. That's not a ton of money, but it would have taken away a lot of stress. Now I've got a nickel and dime everything. I mean, just last week when I had like breakfast at McDonald's, like the basic thing there, and 2 bags of ice for like $17 or $18. I mean, it's 3 times more expensive than it was like 15 years ago. So yeah, it's tough, especially as you get older dealing with failure. I mean, I could see why some people financially, things don't work out, or their business or their relationship or their marriage and things don't work out. Like people get into crazy depression and people do crazy things, they end their life or whatever. So if you don't see me anymore in any of these videos, maybe that's what happened. You could look up my name. I'm kidding, but yeah, it is definitely depressing going through all this. But that's life, and don't get me wrong. I'm super privileged and super lucky. I mean, my parents were able to help me out with this van. I'm in debt and stuff like that, which is annoying, but still. I have a place to stay in Denver for now, and it's definitely not like the worst situation, so I don't want anyone to feel bad for me or anything like that. I'm definitely super lucky. My life has been super interesting. And that's also what you get when you do a high-risk lifestyle and you move around a lot. If you bike around the world, or you go in the military, or you go fishing in Alaska, like shit's not going to work out, or you can get hurt. Or you do business in China, which is like, I knew, like, this is just not a place people go for business, It's high risk. High risk can have some high rewards and some high losses. So, there's nothing really super surprising that's happened to me. And so, yeah, hopefully I'll be on my feet and things will go okay soon enough. And also, I might not be making too many videos over winter. I'll probably get a job with a company shuttling people from the airport to the ski resorts. I'd love to just do my own tours, but I don't think I'm going to have enough to make a lot of money, so I'll probably work with another company. And so I will try to make videos in the next 2 months that I'll just schedule throughout winter, like until, I don't know, March or April. Because I know on YouTube you should probably have a video every 2 weeks. If not, they don't promote your stuff well. I know I've seen people's videos where like they've had a pretty nice channel and a lot of nice videos over like 2 or 3 year periods, but they had big gaps and they didn't have more than a few hundred subscribers for that reason. And also another point about the YouTube channel is that like, I don't want to say it's a failure, but it's a lot of work, and I've been almost taking it seriously for about a year now. And I don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, so that's also something that I can't spend so much more time on this stuff. These videos take about a whole day to do. And so I'll try to do as much as I can until about spring, but after that, man, I need the extra money and the time to do other things. So, but I do enjoy it, and I'm glad to get a lot of these interesting stories out. I want to give more advice on like backpacking, and if you want to cycle around the world, and like different advice on traveling and stuff to help people out. So anyway, I'll see you guys later, and hopefully the winter works out and my business comes along. Like I said, I got about 4 or 5 trips booked next month, which is great for October, and hopefully this thing takes off. So I'll talk to you later.